I still love our public access opening. I can't help it.
Me too.
I'm a big fan. Anyway, welcome to the Sports Show with No Name. It's Wednesday. It's another Wednesday. It's March 26th. It's supposed to be spring now. Tomorrow's opening day. March Madness is still in full swing. Things are supposed to be, like warm with birds singing and things. I woke up to snow on the ground this morning at my house. So,
Dude,
for what it's worth,
I've never understood why it's called March Madness if it finishes in April.
Well, it starts in March.
It does.
I guess all the madness happens in March, right? Like,
I guess
by the time you get to April, it's pretty normal stuff.
Yeah.
So April average, March Madness. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty average in April, I guess. But the March part of it is pretty mad, right? You got the buzzer beat. Well, we didn't really have any buzzer beaters this year.
Yeah, we had one buzzer beater, and it was the Maryland-Colorado State game.
Yeah, and who was watching that?
Me.
I'm kidding. You were.
I just saw people complaining about him traveling, and then.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did. Did you think it was a travel? I thought it was a travel.
I thought it was a travel as well.
Someone said if he doesn't get an NIL deal with Travelers Insurance, what are we even doing? And I thought that was funny. Or Uber or somebody. Anyway, like I said, welcome to the Sports Show with No Name. Today, well, we'll get to March Madness because we have to talk about our bracket that we, probably, maybe, possibly, painfully made you watch us fill out last week. But you'll be fine. We did pretty well. We'll get to that. We'll tell you some of the results from the first round and how many of our Sweet 16 still actually remain in the tournament. Better than I thought, honestly.
Yeah.
Way better than I thought. So, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. And then we're going to talk about, obviously, baseball opening days tomorrow. If you're not the Dodgers or the Cubs, you haven't played games yet, which we talked about that on the show. So I still find that weird that there's like an opening day before opening day. Whatever. Anyway, we'll look at the Guardians. They're going to be at Kansas City, and the Braves. Looking at this. This is weird. For the second year in a row, the Braves are opening up at the stadium where their previous season ended in the playoffs. Isn't that weird?
Who are they playing?
Got swept by San Diego last year, and they end up they're at Petco Park. And then 2 years ago, they got swept by the Phillies in the playoffs. And last year, they started at Citizens Bank Park. So
that's funny.
Yeah, bad omen right away to start the season.
I think a good omen though.
Real quick, the Braves were. I don't know if you saw this. They were ranked the second best lineup in baseball behind the Dodgers heading into the opening day. And that's even with Acuna out on opening day.
Hey, and you can't forget they signed Jesse Chavez back too.
They did. He found his way back again. He's like,
dude. I don't know how. I don't know how. Like, I don't even know why he keeps leaving. Like,
why does he keep leaving? Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like if you love something, set it free. If you love Jesse Chavez, set him free. He always comes back to Atlanta.
Like, he pitches well with Atlanta, and then he leaves to try and pitch somewhere else and pitches like crap, and then he just comes back to Atlanta.
He's going to do this until the end of time. I think Julio Franco is watching Jesse Chavez thinking about making a comeback right now. It's amazing. I can't believe Chavez has had that much success doing it that way, but it's amazing. It never fails. It's
like that honeymoon phase. He's like, okay, if I leave and come back, he's like, I'm going to have that honeymoon phase.
Right. You forget how much you love it in Atlanta and leave a little bit and go somewhere else and come back. And I forgot how much it was. I forgot how good it was here. That's really funny. Let's get the headlines real quick. I just want to march through March Madness. Anyway, sorry. Just some of the basketball boys and girls state champions. For the first time ever, there were 7 divisions that competed in high school basketball in Ohio. So there's a lot of champions to get through.
It used to be what, 4?
What's that? Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
or how many
there were 4. I didn't go from 4 to 7.
No.
I think it went from 6 to 7, didn't it?
Either 5 or 6 to 7, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, there were less than 7, and now there are 7. Those are the facts that we know.
I want to ask you, do you like it now that there's 7, or do you think they should stick to?
I don't mind it. I'll get to it in a minute. I'll tell you why I do like it.
Okay.
Because I found out something crazy. I just was curious about a couple of the schools that had won state titles, and I looked into it a little more. We'll get to that in a minute. But Division 1 for the boys, Olentangy Orange won state title. Division 2, Westerville North were your champions. D3, Louisville. It's really hard for me not to say Louisville there.
I know.
Every time I look at it. And then D4 is Maysville. It's not hard for me not to say Louisville. I don't know how to even do that to that name. But, yeah, Maysville won the Division 4 state title. Division 5, Cleveland Heights Lutheran East. Shout out to my former college roommate, Michael Peters. Hey, Mike, what's up, man? Wittenberg, he came from Lutheran East, so I'm sure he was happy to see that. They put a pretty good program together now. They're pretty solid on the court the last couple of years. Division 6 was Monroe Central. And the interesting tidbit that I was talking about just before, Division 7, the Russia Raiders, right? They win the state title. Not just win the state title. They go 29-0. Okay, and not just an undefeated season. They didn't lose a game, or they didn't win a game. They didn't lose a game, obviously. They didn't win a game by less than 11 points all year.
That's wild.
So I thought, like, when I played high school summer ball, I played with a couple guys from Russia, and I thought, they're a really small school. Like, I'm just curious about the enrollment. So I searched it, and the Russia Raiders, their high school total enrollment is 205 students. Okay. And I was like, that's like 50 people a class. But no. Their high school is considered 7th grade to 12th grade. So it's even less than that. So basically, your homeroom that you start off with in kindergarten at Russia is your graduating class. You never deviate from those students. And that school just went 29-0 and won every game by at least 11 points. I mean, that blows my mind, Ben.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That absolutely blows my mind. I don't know. I just want to. We've got a Jake says hello. Hello, Jake. Thanks for watching. We appreciate that. And Ben, you might know that last name, Andrew.
What's up, buddy?
Hey. What's going on, Andrew? Appreciate you guys watching. Yeah. So the Russia Raiders. It's my gosh, man. All 205 students in the high school, and they go 29-0. Don't win a game by less than 11 points.
My high school class was almost double their entire high school.
Yeah.
I graduated with 496.
Yeah, I graduated with over 200 kids. And there was no one in my graduating class that I looked around. There was no one that I didn't recognize at the time. But I can't even imagine. I mean, you're literally in every class with almost every single student that you know in your class, your whole career, that's wild. But yeah, anyway, congratulations to all the boys state champions and then the girls Division I.
I just want to say, props to Maslin Perry for the run they went on.
Yeah,
that losing record going into the tournament and then you make it all the way to the state final.
Yeah,
that's an incredible run.
Yeah, I think I mentioned on the show last week one of my favorite stories of all time. Coldwater High School near me.
Yeah.
When I was, I think, 8th grade, their boys basketball team went 4-16 and went to the state finals. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know what happens. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, there could have been injuries. I would love to maybe reach out and get someone from that team on the show and hear that story from the inside. I think that would be an interesting thing to have on the show.
Sure.
Maybe I'll try to work on that. It's one of my favorite sports stories from local, growing up as a kid. Anyway, the girls state champions, Division I, Pickerington Central. Division II was Cincinnati Winton Woods. Division III, Cincinnati Purcell Marion. Division 4 was Bellevue. D5, Portsmouth. Division 6, Columbus Grove. The Bulldogs near me back home. And Division 7 champions were Waterford. So congratulations again to the boys and girls high school state basketball champions this year. First time ever competing with 7 divisions. So pretty exciting stuff. I got to watch a few of the games. I didn't watch as much of the boys state semifinals and finals as I wanted to. But I watched a couple of the girls' games. I watched that Fort Loramie and Waterford game, and that was a pretty good game all throughout. It was pretty close right to the end. So, but again, congratulations to all the champions. Not easy to do. Really not easy to do at all. So, Ben, do you have any anything to add to that?
Not really, no.
All right, Think Pew says Chad. Which starter jacket did you own growing up? This is actually a really good question. So I was a big Randall Cunningham fan as a kid. Loved Randall Cunningham. Was just different than any quarterback I had ever seen in my life. So I had an Eagles starter jacket growing up. That was one of my favorite coats. Big green Eagles coat, man. I wasn't even necessarily an Eagles fan. I just really liked Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had to have that Eagles coat growing up. And then Jake says, I subscribed and liked the video. Hey, Ben. So
we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. Thanks, Jake. Gosh, what else, man? What do we have? I guess we have to talk about our NCAA tournament bracket that we filled out last week on the show. Because I posted a couple times on social media through the week about how badly we were doing. And it really I just had everything. That was the High Point Purdue game. I was impressed that High Point played Purdue tough after we picked them to win.
Me too, dude. When they got it within 2, I was like, hold on, wait a second.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. They might, and then Purdue just
too much size, too much experience. I mean, I don't know. They just
didn't want to lose in the first round again.
Yeah. So anyway, out of the 32 games in the first round, Ben and I correctly picked 25 of those. And I can actually, here, hold on. I can show you our, maybe.
I mean, I got it wrong anyways. I mean, like, we picked UC San Diego over Michigan.
Yeah.
And I mean, that game was close, but now Michigan's in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. I think a little bit of that was wishful thinking. We just didn't want Michigan to do well, right? No offense, but it's hard to even be like an Ohio State, Michigan honk in basketball because Ohio State's program is not.
Yeah.
This was a down year for Michigan, right? And here they are in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
A down year for Ohio State is something different. They've missed the year. They've missed the tournament 3 years in a row now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, long story short, we've got 10 of the remaining Sweet 16 teams in our bracket, which really, Ben, isn't bad.
It's not bad at all.
First 2 rounds, almost blindly at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'd still be alive in an office pool.
For sure.
Interestingly enough, all 4 number 1 seeds are alive this year.
I know.
I wouldn't say it's rare, but it doesn't always happen.
I saw a crazy stat saying it's like the first time since 2017 that we haven't had a 13, 14, 15, or 16 seed advance.
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, it's rare to see most of the top seeds go on. Okay, so what we talked about the Wisconsin buzzer beater, right? Because it's really the only buzzer beater that we've seen in the first couple of rounds. That at the end of the game, would you travel? Yeah,
I would think personally, yeah, it's a travel, but
yeah,
travels don't get called anymore unless it's 18 steps. But
yeah, fair enough. I know there were a lot of differing opinions,
and then I saw people, trying to justify it, like, well, he gets a gather step, and somebody that played college basketball was like, okay, he's like, his gather step starts here, and then he takes 6 more steps, and then people are saying, but then his gather step starts there, and the guy's like, he could have walked up and down the court and back in time.
Yeah. I think Pew says, a couple of our college buddies here and guys I played against in high school, or at least Franzer, Shane Franzer or Steve Agnes might have been on that Coldwater team. I think that was even a little bit before their time. I think that was it was 1992 when that happened. That Coldwater team when they went to state after they went forward 16, and I think Franzer would have graduated in 95, 96. I think. Can't remember if he was a year or 2 ahead of me. Wow, it feels weird to try to think back 30. It's 30 years ago. How did that happen? How did that become 30 years? Let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about the Thursday matchups, Sweet 16, because I don't want to talk about how old I am anymore. I don't know. I mean, I was going to go around in our bracket, but like I said, for some reason my bracket's not open now. I'm not going to try to search for it on the show, but we have Alabama and BYU. Alabama's the 2 seed, BYU's the 6. The game is going to be the first opening tip is 7:09 on CBS. Ben, any preliminary thoughts about Alabama or BYU right now?
Like I said, I'm always rooting for the underdog, so I'd like to see BYU win.
Okay.
But I think Alabama is just too good. I think Alabama probably takes it.
Yeah, okay. Florida, Maryland, which Florida has looked completely dominant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I have Florida winning it all, so.
Or I said Wisconsin Florida on that buzzer beater. That was Maryland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm taking Florida to win it all, or Florida, because I picked them to win it all. So.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
Although, like I said, part of me likes the underdog. So when UConn got that game close, I was like, okay, like I'm kind of pulling for UConn, but part of me was like, I just want Florida to win because I picked Florida to win it all.
I get it, and it's funny because like I always pick whatever, and then I go in rooting for chaos right away. So I never care. I always act like I'm upset that my bracket's destroyed, but I really don't care. Like I'd rather see, like you said, 12 and 13 and 14 seeds move on to the Sweet 16, and it's nice to see like a random 11 seed in the Final Four or whatever. I think that's fun.
You remember that Loyola Chicago run when they made it to the Final Four?
Yes, I do.
Or that St. Peter's run where they made it to the Elite Eight?
Yep. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast the one year was throwing alley-oops all over the place. I mean, that
Dunk City.
Yeah, it's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to watch when a team just pops up out of nowhere like that for me.
It is.
Okay, now let me ask you this, because I was just looking at, we got Duke, Arizona. That's the third game at 9:39. But let me ask you, because there's no question, Duke, Arizona is a classic blue blood college basketball.
That could be game of the tournament.
It could be. Now, do you consider Florida, Maryland a matchup of blue bloods. Do you consider Maryland a blue blood? I mean, they had a nice run in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like
I would say I'd probably say no.
Okay. You know, consider the Terps, Lamar Odom, and all those. They had a nice little run. And
forgot Lamar Odom went to Maryland.
Yeah. A lot of people did. I think a lot of people would forget. It feels like Lamar Odom has had 5 different NBA careers and post careers since he's was in college. It's just because, you know, you saw him every day. I think when you're on reality TV, you get blasted out there a little more than most people. Whatever. So Maryland's not a blue blood. Yeah, but I think Duke Arizona is a classic. You can't argue that. That's a blue blood matchup.
Yeah, that could be, like I said, that could be game of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe as I'm looking through the de facto national championship matchup, maybe those are the 2 best teams right now. But I don't know. Florida's playing so well, so well. But I think it depends on Cooper Flagg too for Duke. If he's healthy, if his ankle holds up,
I agree. But I think
too.
I also think you could see. I think the most common title games are like Duke and Florida and Auburn, and so those teams. I mean,
yeah, I'm not surprised that the most common title games are 1 versus 1 seed. You know what I mean? It's, you know.
But don't be surprised if a team like Houston or something or Michigan State makes it, because, you know, don't be surprised if Michigan State makes it with Tom Izzo, because
I've never always, like I said, anything Michigan State does.
Like we said when you're picking the first round and second round games, Tom Izzo always finds a way to make a run in March. Doesn't matter what seed he is, what kind of team he has, he always has the ability to make a run, and that's what makes it scary playing Michigan State.
Yeah, it's uncanny. Yeah, and it, like, you would think like through the decades that would fall off, but it never does. I mean, Izzo is so consistent. Like I said last week on the show, we're really in like this golden era of coaches over the last 25 to 30 years that, you know, a lot of these guys are going to be hanging it up really, really soon.
Like I told go ahead.
No, it's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to be hanging it up. So it's sad to see.
That's exactly what my dad said. I said, imagine what college basketball is going to be like when, you know, Tom Izzo decides to hang it up. Like, that Michigan State job is going to be one of the hottest jobs ever. Like, everybody's going to want that job.
But do you think they experience a fall off after that though?
If they don't hire the right guy, kind of like Duke. Like I think
Duke nailed it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Duke nailed it with John Shire. I think if
Michigan we thought UConn nailed the hire with Dan Hurley, but maybe not now.
Maybe not. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how next year goes.
Some maturity issues, but that's okay.
But like, if Michigan State's able to get it right, you know, and keep that same, you know, like brotherhood and same attitude, and kind of like Duke did with John Shire, like they didn't miss a beat from Coach K.
Someone said Draymond Green should go back and coach Michigan State.
I saw that, and I actually don't like, if he's up for it, I don't hate it.
I mean, listen, he's obviously a great basketball mind. He's a very, very intelligent player. We know that. It's just I worry. I mean, I don't know. He's getting a little older. I guess we settle down, but Draymond hasn't settled down a whole lot. You know, you still see him get into the little things. I mean, is he going to be able to do the day-to-day recruiting stuff and dealing with NIL and transfers and all the stuff that you have to deal with as the head coach? You know what I mean? Without whatever.
I don't know. I just think that, like you said, they have to get it right, because if they don't, then they could be in a cycle where just every couple of years you're looking for a new head coach, and
it could be like Ohio State. I think Ohio State's in that cycle right now. I think they're not looking for a new coach now.
No, but
because they did just hire Jake Diebler. But
if he doesn't do good this year, they could be.
Yeah, I just saw Gabe Cupp actually transferred to Ohio State.
I did see that
just before we went live. Yeah, he transferred from Indiana to Ohio State. That's actually my brother-in-law's cousin. So he's, you know, whatever. Great high school player.
That's kinda cool.
Yeah. He hasn't gotten on the floor too much at Indiana, or didn't get on the floor too much at Indiana. He also had some injuries last year. He got shut down for a lower body. I'm not sure exactly what kind of injury he had, but I know he was shut down for most of the season sophomore year. So I'm sure obviously that contributed to it. But I think he's, you know, former Mr. Basketball. I think he's a tough player. I think it's a good get for Ohio State. It's a good place to start.
Sure.
But as always, they need bigs. They've got to get bigger, right? Like, you see Purdue out here doing it with like a 7-footer and a 6'10" guy, and like, you know, Ohio State's centers like 6'8", you know, like every year. I know they had a bigger guy this year, but it's just, I don't know, man. They just don't really get much in the post there. They don't get much production since, I don't know, what, Greg Oden?
Jared Sullinger, Evan Turner,
Jared Sullinger. Yeah. Jared Sullinger and Greg Oden, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely needs some more, I think, in the low post, especially in the Big Ten. It's that kind of conference. But that fourth game on Thursday, 10:09 tip on TBS, Texas Tech and Arkansas. Arkansas is the lowest remaining seed in the tournament at a 10.
I could see Arkansas winning that game.
Yeah, okay. Trial by fire in the SEC a little bit. SEC was obviously tough this year. You've got Alabama, Florida. I mean, you've got,
I just think
Ole Miss, Kentucky, Tennessee still alive. Like half the SEC is still alive. Yeah. Auburn.
I think it's kind of one of those things where like maybe all Coach Calipari needed was like a new environment.
Yeah.
Like a new setting.
Yeah, maybe.
And now you could see, Arkansas be dominant for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good to get away from the spotlight a little bit,
It is.
And I know Arkansas is another school that had a pretty good run, in the 90s. I think back to Corliss Williamson. And I'm blanking on their coach's name from the 90s right now. I can picture him. I'm sure somebody knows it out there. But yeah, I mean, Arkansas had a nice little run. Never anything, too consistent. Definitely not a blue blood, but I mean, they're a program with some history,
For sure.
And then Friday, we've got the Big Ten portion of the bracket, or the rest of the Big Ten anyway. Michigan State will take on Ole Miss in that first game at 7:09. That'll be on CBS.
I could see Ole Miss winning that, but I want Michigan State too.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Tom Izzo. We just talked about it.
It's one of those things where it's like I used to hate Tom Izzo, because he was in the Big Ten and he's always beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
But now just the more and more that dude keeps making it far in tournaments, it's like, man, like I can't hate him. I just gotta respect him because all that dude does is win.
Yeah, and it feels like every time he gets a chance, he does the right thing, right? Like you see Tom Izzo, it's like every story that comes out is about him behind the scenes doing something really, kind or really whatever. It just seems like a great dude on top of all that. So yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to palate when they're always winning, when it's, when you're good people. Tennessee, Kentucky is the 7:39 tip on Friday.
That could be a game of the tournament. That could be a game of the tournament nominee as well.
Yeah, it feels like a toss up. I mean, I don't really know how to even call it.
Yeah, I don't really.
After everything we saw in the first 2 rounds, where most things went to plan. I mean, there were a few upsets. We called a couple of them. We had
that game could end in a tie.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
why not? You got to combine both teams. Call them the Kentucky Volunteers.
All right, take the best starting 5 from both teams, and then go with the bench. Then whichever coach you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, you got to combine the coaches. They're both coaching at the same time. So it's just like they can be shouting at different things.
Okay.
It could get confusing, but they got to find
battle coaching. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Battle coaching. Is there anything to Michigan State? They had a little bit of an easier road. I mean, they played a 15 seed in Bryant, and then they got the 10 seed in New Mexico. Do you think that hurts them at all? I mean, as they go on to this matchup or no? We had Iowa State here in this matchup, but we had Iowa State, Michigan State, so we had the 3 seed there. I don't know. I'm wrong about that, but
I would say no because of their coach being Tom Izzo. He's been through.
There's nothing he hasn't seen.
Yeah, he's been through this tournament so many times that he knows what it takes to get to the finals, and he knows what it takes to win it.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have these guys ready. I mean, I didn't see the final box score, but last time I checked, Jason Richardson's son was 0 for 8, and they were still winning the game.
Fair.
So
yeah. Okay.
It's like Tom Izzo finds a way to win, and that's. I mean, it's gonna sound cliche, but that's what winners do. Winners win. Yeah. Like it's
and his teams always seem to embody that. It reminds me a little bit of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, right? Like I know people make a huge stink about the Steelers, and they haven't won a playoff game since whatever, but they're always there.
Yeah. I
mean, they're consistently there. They're good, and they haven't had the best roster in the NFL, especially offensively.
And neither is Tom Izzo for a while. Like you think about the last time they had a good team was like the Miles Bridges era, like Miles Bridges, Jaren Jackson Jr. Like but after that though, I mean, you've seen Izzo take an 8 seed to the Sweet 16, or a 7 seed to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, or a 9 seed to the Elite 8. It's
some guys can just coach. They just take a group of guys and. It reminds me a little bit of Urban Meyer at Ohio State, right? You see a group of guys and you find the strengths, right? And you play to those strengths. And it's not like one system necessarily. It's just playing to your guys' strengths. And Tom Izzo, I think, does a good job of that.
I would agree.
Auburn, Michigan in the 9:39 tip. That's on CBS. Again, this kind of feels like a kind of a toss-up, but Michigan's playing so well right now.
I was going to say Michigan's hot right now. They could come away with that game. And I think –
They just put 91 up in their second round game. I mean,
I think what makes Michigan so hard to defend is that they play 2 centers to start the game. They play 2 7-footers.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine now the Michigan? If we see a Michigan Purdue matchup, like how much fun is that? That's like old school basketball, right? Like just
Yeah.
a bunch of bigs out there, a bunch of trees. Could be fun.
It could be, but like it's just like that forces Auburn to go big sooner than they probably want to, because like if you're getting killed with two bigs, Michigan's not going to change.
Yeah.
And that
If
forces
you can get them into foul trouble, that's great.
Yeah.
If not.
But if not, yeah, if you can't defend their two bigs with your starting five, it's going to force you to go big.
Yeah.
Unless you're hitting outside shot.
Have bigs like that, you have the advantage. You can just sit in the zone and just wait for things to come to you. And
you could even play a 3-2 zone with those two guys in the paint.
Oh yeah.
Like good luck. Like you're not getting inside.
Yeah, there's
like
nothing happening in the post. Like you're gonna have to hit jumpers.
Yeah,
and that's tough against the 3-2. You know how tough it is to find an open shot against the 3-2.
That's what I was gonna say. Like if you're Auburn, like you got to be able to make threes in that game.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have to draw those bigs out of the paint.
Yep.
To get a chance and
get them away from the basket, get them on somebody athletic, get a switch or something, draw a foul. Yeah, you're gonna have to get them out of the game. You're right, out of the paint, out of the game. And then the final tip off at 10:09 is Houston and Purdue. I guess we were allowed to believe in Purdue now, right? They're playing pretty well. They're
Houston.
Okay, fair enough. Man, Purdue looked like a well-oiled machine, though. Like they kept letting High Point back in that first round game, but like they also kept putting them away every time they got back. I was really impressed with that.
It seemed like that was like every game. Like anytime any lower seed got close to like taking the lead or tying the game, then the higher seed just went on like a 10-12-0 run.
Yeah.
And the game was not over, and you're like, that was quick.
Yeah, and there really like you said. I mean, there really weren't any. Well, not any, but there really weren't a lot of games that came down to the final seconds. I mean, games were close, but they weren't. They were decided. You were going in a minute left, and somebody was up 9 or something. It was like, okay. I think it makes it a lot more fun when they're just bouncing around from buzzer beater to buzzer beater. But
me too. Or like when you got 14 seeds and 15 seeds went in, and you're like, okay, like I've told the story before. I don't know if I've ever told it on here, but that year St. Peter's beat Kentucky.
Yeah,
I was like, that's my team. I'm rooting for them. I was so close. If they would have won their Elite 8
that was
game,
a 15-2, right?
Yeah, they were 15 seed. If they would have won their Elite 8 game, I was gonna buy a St. Peter's jersey to wear it for their Final Four game.
I love how it's always that one more step. They win this next game, I'm getting a hoodie, man. Like, that's really funny.
I was gonna buy a hoodie and support them, but it's one of those things. It was like I'm always rooting for the underdogs in these kind of tournaments. Like
it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I remember at one point wanting a Florida Gulf Coast hoodie. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was that's why it's called March Madness, because it's fun. It's fun to watch these upsets happen, and you're like, like even though like your bracket gets busted, but you're like, okay, like I'm rooting for that team. Like I'm rooting for that 14 seed to make it. I
will gladly donate my whatever, $5, $10, $20, whatever it is, to the office pool to watch Florida Gulf Coast go dunk on Kentucky or Tennessee or somebody one year. I think that's fun. So just Ben, who's like your kind of early? It's not that early. We're in the Sweet 16, but who's your Final Four? Like, do you have an idea of how it's shaping up now? Who you think you're going to see there?
I'm saying Florida, Michigan State, Auburn, and then I'll say
hold on, can't be Michigan State and Auburn.
Oh,
they'll play each other in that Elite 8 round if they both win.
Then I'll say Michigan State. I'll say Michigan State.
So basically in the South right now, what it is we have.
Can Duke and Michigan State make it, or do they play each other in the?
No, Duke and Michigan State can definitely be.
I'm gonna say Duke, Michigan State.
Yeah.
Houston. Can Houston make it, or do they have to play Duke?
Nope, they'll have to play them until the Final Four.
Okay, then give me Houston and then Florida.
Okay. I think Florida's good. I think Florida will be there. I don't see anything standing in the way of Florida that's a real legitimate threat.
Like I said, I just think Michigan State is too well coached. Yeah. And I think Duke is too well coached as well. Houston's extremely well coached.
Yeah. Cooper Flagg looks totally healthy. I don't think like we talked about if the ankle holds up, he's fine. It looks like it's holding up.
Yeah.
I don't think he's showing any.
And I also think Duke, with their roster this year and how good of a coaching John Shire is, I also think they can afford to rest him for longer than they probably thought they could.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, they're deep. They're definitely a 1 seed for a reason. They're here for a reason. I think Duke gets there. I think they beat Arizona, obviously, Thursday night, and then I think they'll take Alabama down eventually. I think that's going to be Alabama in that matchup. I think it's Duke. I'm so torn between Tennessee can just score. Sometimes it will, and when you're scoring like that, it's really hard to be. I'm going to say Duke, Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. I think Auburn. I know we don't like to go against Tom Izzo, but I think Auburn takes down Michigan State.
I mean, here's the thing. I could see Auburn too because of their experience. They got one of the oldest starting fives in college basketball.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think that game's a toss-up. I mean, you got Tom Izzo versus an Auburn player who was up for Player of the Year, so I think it can go either way.
Okay. I saw a graphic, and I'll share it, on the show's Facebook page. So if you don't follow us there, go to Facebook and search Sports Show with No Name. You'll see our logo, which looks like that right down there. But yeah, you'll see our logo. Go to the Facebook page, and I'll share this later. There was a cool graphic. It was where all the Sweet 16 starting five started playing college basketball, and it was like, try to guess who's who. There were a couple of teams that were really easy. I think you'll be able to get Purdue. Their starting five all started at Purdue, so they're pretty easy to, unless everybody just had a full, full swap. But that didn't happen. Everybody started at Purdue. A couple of teams are pretty easy to guess on there, but a couple, it's a total toss up for some of the teams. I mean, you look at like 5 completely different schools. You know what I mean? So that was kind of fun to see. We'll share that graphic on the Facebook page later, and you guys can take a look at that and comment and see who you think is who.
My brother posted a comment saying I bought the hoodie, referring to the St. Peter's hoodie.
Nice.
When they made it to the Elite Eight, he bought a hoodie, and like I said,
that's awesome.
we were the biggest St. Peter's fans. We were going nuts.
It's fun, man. It's fun. It's like, people go, well, how can you watch and just all of a sudden you're a fan of a team? Like, have you never watched the Olympics? Like,
yeah.
I watch, and of course I'm rooting for everybody from the US, but you don't know the individuals every year. You don't know every sport. Like, you don't know who's competing and wherever. Like, I find myself rooting for events that curling is one of my favorite Winter Olympics sports to watch. Or events. I don't know if you want to call it a sport.
It was kind of like.
Well, listen, they're more athletic than me because I can't stay up on the ice and I can't do the stretch. I could not do curling. Let's put it. Before you get mad at me for not calling curling a sport, I couldn't do it. So there's that.
Yeah. But it's kind of like people say it's watching a bunch of kids get to live out their dream.
Yes.
And when they pull off that upset, to see that look on their face, it's like, dude, like that's people you can root for. It sucks for the higher seed, but like when you see that 15 seed upset that 2 seed and they're all going nuts, jumping up and down, going crazy, you're like, okay, that's fun. And then like you kind of draw that connection to them, and it's like now like I'm always rooting for St. Peter's to get back to the tournament because I want to see them go on another run. It's kind of like
Yeah, that's how my wife always ended up. Right, that's how my wife is a Gonzaga fan now. Like anytime she sees Gonzaga, she's Gonzaga, because they made those runs from like lower spots, lower seeds, and eventually Gonzaga became kind of that perennial 1 or 2 seed.
I'm like the same way with UMBC, the first ever 16 seed. I'm always like, they win their conference, they go into the tournament, and if they are, I'm always rooting for them.
Yeah, let's not talk about 16 seeds beating ones. I have very personal experience.
Go
with
Purdue.
That. Oh, man, my Final Four. I think I had him winning the championship, didn't I?
I think you did.
My goodness. Thanks, Zach Edey. Anyway, it's not his fault. Oh, man, that's great. Hey, there's my wife. Look. Oh, hold on. I covered it up with the. I wish I didn't have to click out of the logo to Gonzaga, my wife says. Okay. That's fun. Yeah, Gonzaga's a fun story.
This is like, I always tell my dad, I said, this is one of the best times in sports is March Madness time.
It's fun. It's so much fun. And I think it's because like part of it, you and I played like some travel baseball growing up, and you would go to these tournaments and like you'd see like in my day it was a poster board. You probably had like technology and like whiteboards and stuff, but smart boards, whatever. I would show up and it would be like a big poster board with all the teams written on it.
Yep.
And it's like you'd show up Thursday and like the championship game was Sunday. You had to play like a round robin or whatever, and it was just it was so much fun to see the format of every tournament that you went to. And I know this form, obviously the format's the same every year. But yeah, all the chaos in the early rounds, the upsets, the unexpected superstars, like it's so much fun. I'm glad we still have it the way it is. I don't know if somebody said, should they go to 128 teams? I feel like that's too many.
Yeah, I feel like that's too many. But it's kind of like I told my dad, I said, like if you're that player, that carries that mid-major team on a huge run, like you're going to be talked about forever. Like Wally Zerback with Miami, Ohio. Like he single-handedly carried Miami, Ohio to the Sweet 16.
He sure did.
Every year he gets talked about for one of the most legendary runs ever because nobody expected Miami, Ohio, to make it to the Sweet 16.
And he rode that to a pretty good NBA career too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the thing too. It's like you got those guys that go to those mid majors, and a lot of times they get a chance because of that one run, and it's like okay. And it's kind of like they have a chip on their shoulder too.
You could argue that that's how Steph Curry kind of came onto the radar for us.
Agreed. And it's kind of because it's kind of like those guys playing the NBA with a chip on their shoulder because they know, okay, if I don't play well, I'm gone.
Yeah, they're smaller, they're whatever, they're overlooked. They're I love
and
that.
It's like it's like you said. I mean, Wally had a pretty good career. I mean, Steph Curry's having a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah,
I mean,
one of the best ever.
Yeah, I mean, people knew he was going to be a good shooter.
Yeah,
because of his dad, but I don't think anybody expected him to be what he is.
No, no one expected him to take it to this level. I mean,
it
was fun to watch Davidson. It was a good story, and
it's like Kemba Walker.
Yeah,
with UConn.
Yep.
Like nobody expected Kemba, and then he went all cardiac Kemba, and Gordon Hayward, that run with Butler.
You just never know. Yeah,
like some of these guys, like you said, like a lot of times these runs by these single players can carry players through NBA careers, like Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Wally.
Yep.
It's crazy to see like what the tournament can do for somebody's basketball career.
And you love to see a guy get an unexpected chance. I mean, I love that. I don't know if everybody does, but I love that.
For sure. It's like just think about.
So that's March Madness. That's the Sweet 16.
For sure.
Again, in the comments here or on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you're watching right now, just let us know. Let us know who your teams are. You can tell us your Final Four. Again, I'm going to post the graphic. You can try to guess what team is what based on where other guys started out.
Yeah, I saw that graphic. That graphic's crazy, dude. It's wild. It just shows you why it's hard for mid majors to be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just saw St. Francis is after they lost, they're going down to Division III.
Yeah,
because they can't sustain because of NIL and transfer portal. They can't sustain because they can't afford to keep guys,
which sucks.
Yeah, that's the bad part of it. We agree that there's a little bit of a fallout, right? I know you and I have had we've had our go-ins about NIL before.
Dude, I wish that argument was recorded, dude. That was so good.
It was so good, and we remained so civil. We presented our points. It was such a good debate.
It was.
Maybe that's that was a class, right? That was in class, wasn't it?
That was in class. Yeah.
Maybe we've got that recording somewhere. We'll look it up. Maybe one day we'll play the old school NIL argument on the show.
Actually, I don't think it was on show. I think we were in a Teams, and it was before the show started.
Oh, really?
And we were waiting on somebody, and me, you, and Jackson got into the whole NIL debate.
Okay.
So,
I'm for it. Like there is fallout. There's always going to be fallout for everything, but I do think that
I don't know. Well, maybe one day we'll talk about NIL.
Fair enough.
Maybe one day me and you will sit down and we'll kind of come up with some points of like our own perspective, and we'll talk about NIL.
Well, there are things that will come up when it comes to NIL, and they'll come up very shortly, I would think, possibly when next football season kicks off. I don't know if Michigan's going to have Bryce Underwood at quarterback, but what did they give him? $13 million, $11 million, whatever it was, for a high school kid who's never. I don't think it should be used as a recruiting tool. I'm kind of against that.
I've always said this. NIL was never supposed to be what it is today.
Yeah,
it was
always meant to. Yeah, it's meant to.
NIL was meant for the video games, so players could get paid off their name, image, and likeness from being in an NCAA video game. And I don't know if you saw, but they actually raised the price that players are getting paid for that from $250 to $1,000.
I did see that.
So after the huge success the first year, players are getting paid more. Which I think will which will make more players want to opt in.
Yeah.
And it's not only that, you get $1,000 per year you're in the video game.
Okay.
So if you're a freshman and you're in for 4 years, you get $4,000.
All right.
So, I mean,
see, this is where I think NIL can be used as a recruiting tool. I just don't know if every school should have an NIL collective, right? I think
I would agree.
If a player wants to go out and find their own deal, again, we can get into this another time. But if a player wants to go out and find their own deal, I'm all for that. You market yourself, you do whatever you can. Because you remember the whole thing with Braxton Miller, he was selling energy drinks and he got in trouble. Remember his YouTube channel got shut down.
Yep.
Possible NCAA violation. See, I think you should be able to do stuff like that, right? That's no problem. But I don't think a school should be able to, and I don't care if it's Ohio State, Michigan. It's not sour grapes. I don't think Ohio State should be able to do it either. You should be able to go to a high school kid and say, hey, we'll give you $10 million to sign and come here. And, you've never even taken a college snap.
Yeah. Last thing before we move on from NIL, I think college football should set a cap on each, I think every team should have the same cap number for NIL.
Okay.
Like maybe it's
okay.
2 million, 3 million, something like that. Give each team, you got $3 million to spend on your roster.
Okay. Maybe you can make more as the 3rd or 4th year student than as a freshman. Okay.
Yeah. I think it makes it would make, it would give those mid majors a chance, because, if you got, say you got a rich player from, your school being like, hey, hey, I'll give you $3 million. Now some teams might not spend $3 million on their roster because they can't afford it. Yeah. But say if you're Maryland, right, and say Stephon Diggs goes, hey, I want to give you $3 million for NIL. They might have a good team for 4 years because they can spend $3 million on it.
Right. Well, and we talked about that's how Vanderbilt could possibly have an uprising in the SEC, right? They've got plenty of baseball guys that, the baseball program already is well established.
For sure.
There may be a lot of those guys that are watching, that are playing in the major leagues, watching Vanderbilt play on Saturdays that go, hey, man, they just got to this. Maybe we can get them to 10 wins if we throw in a couple $1 million in NIL money.
It's like James Harden with Arizona State.
Them. Yeah.
It's like James Harden with Arizona State. He says, I'll spend as much money as it takes to make them good. And it's like, okay, how much is he going to spend?
Right. But I think we have to regulate how it's spent. I think I
agree
with you on certain aspects of that. I think it needs to be regulated. It shouldn't be used as a recruiting tool. I don't agree with giving a 17-year-old kid $10 million to come sign and play.
I agree.
That's wild. And again, it's not sour grapes, because if he comes and he's not good, Michigan's in a deep, deep hole for 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Which they might be in a deep hole anyway, but we'll get to that another time.
Again, I know it's the last name, but one last thing. I agree with what UConn women's head coach said.
Okay.
He said, if we're going to have NIL deals where, we're paying these players to come recruit, he says, make it a contract.
Okay.
He says, make them sign a contract. And if they want out, they got to either pay us back the money or stick it out for.
Yeah. And I always wonder, is there a certain portion of that money that's guaranteed? Is that,
I mean, it would have to be. If it comes to a contract, I feel like it would almost have to be. Say you sign a 4-year contract and it's $10 million, right? Say you stay for 2, right? You only get $5 million.
That's fair, though. I mean, that's completely fair.
I couldn't agree more with him too, because it's because then it gives these mid-major schools a chance, because hey, if you stay for 4 years, we'll give you $1 million or something like that. And it's okay. Yeah. Okay, maybe I want to stay.
3 years until you're eligible for the draft or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I want to stay. Or it's maybe it's hey, you stay for 3 years, we'll give you $750K, but if you stay a 4th year, we'll give you, a little extra money.
And I know nothing about Bryce Underwood's character or his makeup. I'm not. I don't mean to. I'm only focusing on him because he's the most recent high school player to get so much money to come to a school. And I don't mean to. I'm not trying to speak ill of him. But let's say there's a situation like you give Bryce Underwood, a guy like him, $11, $12, $13 million to come to your school, and then he decides hey man, that's a pretty good payday. I don't really care much about football anymore. I did this because I was always playing because I was hungry. I wanted to get out of my situation. Now I have $13 million. It's
kind of
it's an ego versus does your ego want to prove that you're worth that money, or do you just say, hey, I have the money now, who cares?
I was just gonna say it's kind of like giving a little kid a bunch of money, hey, I'm gonna go out and buy a Lamborghini, I'm gonna go out and buy all this nice expensive stuff, and then you hear Bryce Underwood's in a fatal car crash. I wonder why.
Hopefully not. Yeah, I hope that they have guys that are around the program that teach these guys how to manage their money. I know Ohio State's been big on that.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying though. It's it's you hear all these guys getting these huge NIL deals, and then it's they get arrested for doing something stupid, and you're like, well,
they clown with their money. Yeah, I get it.
And do you see what Syracuse?
But that's another responsibility of a head coach now.
I was gonna say, do you see what Syracuse head coach is doing?
No.
He's encouraging players to save 40% of their NIL.
Yeah.
He's saying you got to save 40% of your NIL, and he literally has it on the math. He's like, you save 40% of it. He's like, by the time you leave here, he's like, you'll be set for your life.
Yeah.
He goes, you won't have to. He goes, you wouldn't have to work another day in your life.
Yeah, I get it. It's fun to flex, and hey, look how much money I have. But it does one of two things. It makes your money go away.
Yeah.
And sometimes on these college campuses, they're not in the best neighborhoods, man. It attracts attention, right? You don't want to. Whatever. Anyway, that's enough about NIL. We didn't expect to get into that at all today.
But maybe we'll have a full show though based on NIL. Maybe we
could do that. Absolutely. Maybe we'll get an NIL deal based off our NIL show. I have my doubts. That's fine. So anyway, MLB opening day is tomorrow.
Yes.
And I know it's finally here, but it feels a little unceremonious to me. It just feels like, first of all, like I said, I woke up this morning, there's snow on the ground. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Second, there've already been 2 games played. I mean, the Dodgers and the Cubs have already played 2 games in Japan. Whatever. Okay, fine. They open up the season, but now opening day's tomorrow for everybody else. And I don't even think the Braves are home until like the second week of April.
Yeah,
they have a long road trip
Guardians.
to start the season.
Guardians home openers until April 8th.
Yeah,
because of the weather.
Yeah, and it still may not be good on April 8th.
I mean, could be snowing.
But let's talk about it because our 2 teams both have first pitches at 4:10 tomorrow.
They do.
This is gonna be the first year I'm not gonna be able to watch the Braves. I canceled my MLB TV package.
Did you?
I did. I did.
I don't know if I'll be able to watch the Guardians because their TV thing hasn't been announced yet.
No, I don't know what you're going to do with the Guardians either. And the Braves are in a similar situation. I think the Braves just got their local or regional TV kind of thing settled a little bit. I don't have the details on it, but I've seen some headlines that they're at least a little more settled. But the Guardians are not in that position.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, they don't. I mean, they have their own TV service, but they don't have anything on local TV. Like I'm not going to spend $100 on this Guardians thing if I can still get them locally. Like I'm not gonna do that.
Right, of course.
But, I mean, I'm still going to be keeping up. I'm still going to be following. Still going to be.
MLB is going the wrong way in terms of accessibility to fans.
I would agree. All the blackouts and
maybe that's why it seems so unceremonious to me because I know I'm not going to be able to watch my team. I likely won't be able to watch the Guardians, so I'm stuck with whatever games are on network TV on whatever streaming services I have.
As much as people hate on like Roger Goodell and Adam Silver.
Yeah,
you look at it they have you can buy NBA TV and NFL Game Pass and there's no blackouts.
Yeah, and the game is very palatable and accessible.
Yeah, but you buy MLB
and marketable. You know who the stars are.
Yeah, and you buy MLB TV, and local blackout restriction, can't watch your game.
Ben, I think you'd be surprised by the number of casual fans that don't know the biggest stars in Major League Baseball. As opposed to, you recognize the names in the NFL, you recognize the names in the NBA, but I think most people look at baseball players and they go, "Who is that?"
Yep,
I don't even know the name. Who is that?
I would agree.
That's a sad spot to be in.
I also think part of that too is like you said, like not enough marketability on TV, but at the same time too, it's like you look at all these other sports and they're always involved with the youth.
Yeah,
like the NFL has a youth. The NFL is like a youth flag football day, right?
Yes.
Like the NBA, they always have, they always bring kids on the court and stuff like that. You look at MLB and I mean, I get there's not much to do because, there's no halftime or there's no anything like that. But each team, can have their own youth day, which a lot of teams do. Yeah. But it's like one day every year.
Yeah. Baseball needs to do better just overall and reaching,
I agree.
Like you said, youth and just inner city. Baseball has no presence at all in inner city.
I think
they need to do better.
I think I told you this off stream, but Ellie De La Cruz is he's religiously trying to learn English because he wants to be able to connect with the youth. Like he wants to.
Yeah, no, I think we talked about it on the show last week.
Yeah, he wants to. He wants to be able to see kids at the ballpark and be able to communicate with them and make their day. He's like I don't. He's like growing up. He goes I'd go to games and he's like I couldn't communicate with English players because I couldn't speak English.
That's fantastic for him, but Major League Baseball needs to do something like where the NFL has their punt, pass, kick. We need to be able to reach kids and let them know that there's a path for them. It shouldn't cost $1,500 or $2,000 a summer to play travel baseball.
I agree.
And I think that rules most kids out right away.
Yep.
That's a lot of money, and a lot of kids are just going to get a basketball and go to the park and play. Right? Yep. It's going to be it's going to be easier to play basketball than it is to play baseball. And I get it. Baseball equipment costs money, but that's where Major League Baseball I feel could provide maybe for somebody. At least for the inner cities around where there are active Major League Baseball teams.
I agree.
At least that can be a start. I don't know. Again, it's not my area of expertise, but I just feel like they could be doing a better job with that.
I'd have to agree with you. I mean, like you said, NFL has punt, pass, kick. You look at all these. Not even just that.
NBA. AAU is so closely affiliated with the NBA.
Yeah.
In its roots that there's just so much of a connection with youth basketball.
Yeah.
From the other two major sports that I wish there was with baseball.
It's kind of like the thing of you kind of wish the MLB would, kind of step in and be like, okay, hey, each team needs to run 4 youth camps during the summer or during the spring down to Arizona or something during spring training.
Well, instead, everybody has focused their money overseas because they can cheaply sign young talent at these academies that they run overseas, which is, I think some of these guys are taken advantage of overseas.
I agree.
The opportunities are great, but I do think they're taking advantage of these younger players a little bit, signing them maybe less money than they could earn if that system wasn't a little better. What am I trying to say? If there was a little better oversight to that, I think guys wouldn't be taken advantage of. I think there's some borderline illegal activity. The Braves' old GM, Frank Wren, got in trouble for some of that stuff.
I remember that. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There are some unfortunate things that happen there.
Yeah, I think the marketability needs to be better in baseball. I mean, like I said, like growing up, I mean, like you always had Ken Griffey Jr., Chipper Jones, all those guys that would always, connect with the youth. And nowadays you look at it and it's like not many players really take time to connect with the youth. I mean, biggest one I can think of is Mike Trout. Like he's always signing for kids. He's always, he's never turning down.
I think a lot of casual fans, if they saw Mike Trout on the street, they'd have no idea who he was.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a lot of those players like don't take pictures in public, and it's like that's not a way for like I get like, and I don't want to say like they're professional athletes, they're supposed to. Like I get it, like you want your privacy when you're outside of the game,
sure,
and stuff like that. But like if somebody asks for an autograph, like I'm perfectly okay with saying no to a picture, right? But if somebody asks for an autograph, just give them an autograph. It can make it could make a kid's day.
I'm torn on that because I do think there should be more interaction between players and fans. But I also think that players are also private people. And I think about sometimes in my situation, like I wouldn't want to walk out of a restaurant and be surrounded by 50 or 60 people whose intentions I don't know, right?
I agree.
Who knows what some of these people are thinking. And it's a little bit different world than it was like in the 50s and 60s when kids went to the ballpark and just got their whole sheet of cards signed. And I mean, now guys are sending their kids up there to get cards signed. They're flipping them on eBay, and there's just all kinds of weird stuff that happens.
That's
right?
Why
around the fans. I get some of the privacy issues with players.
I do, and that's why a lot of players don't sign.
Yeah,
or
they charge to sign.
Yeah.
Well, why do you do it? Well, because you're going to send me a card. I'm going to sign it for free, and then you're going to sell it for $200 on eBay.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's like an NIL deal, right? It's only fair that player. The card wouldn't be worth as much if the player's picture, the image, right, the likeness, weren't on it, and his name weren't specifically like legitimately signed on the card. That's the crux of the NIL deal, right? Yeah. Like your name, your image, and your likeness. Yeah, I get it. I get guys charging for autographs. I have no problem.
I do too. I don't either.
I have no problem with that. Anyway, let's get to opening day. We're getting off on tangents today. The Guardians are going to start off at Kansas City. So Guardians at Royals, 4:10 first pitch. Tanner Bybee, Cole Reagans, right? Everybody, what happened to Bieber? He's not ready yet. What, May, maybe? Are we thinking for Bieber?
I heard like May or June, probably.
Okay, that's fine.
They're hoping that once the AA season starts, or once the minor league season starts, to get him on the mound in the minors and then slowly work him up to the majors.
Yeah.
With a guy like him, there's no rush in bringing him back, especially if he's especially if he's supposed to be ready like earlier in the season.
Yeah.
It's not like it's coming, towards, September or, October, November.
Yeah.
In there.
And he's a veteran guy. I think you can count on him to do the rehab and to get like he knows what he needs to get ready. Yeah. You're not going to force him along. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Spencer Strider is in the same situation with the Braves. He just was put on the 15-day IL to start the season. Everybody freaked out. What's wrong with Strider? He was pitching in the in the spring. Yeah. But he's still a month or two behind.
Yeah.
Likely he won't be there until May or June either. So
it's kind of like Steve Vogt said it. He's like, Bieber probably could have pitched off a mound and pitched 1 or 2 innings in a game. He's like, but we don't want him to go out there and feel the need to like, okay, I pitched off a mound, I got to go 100%.
Yeah.
He's like, so we're just gonna let him throw bullpens, to get his arm back. He's like, then we want him to work out in spring in the minors, and then then when he's ready, call him up.
Yeah. Anything specific you're looking for in this opening day? I mean, other than just baseball being back, like if you were going to be able to watch the game, which we likely won't.
I want to be able. Something I want to. I just hope that our offense has enough. Like I know I've said I trust this offense without Naylor, but it's kind of one of those things. It's like I just hope that we don't see a huge regression from Santana, and he didn't play 1 too many years past what he should have.
Yeah.
You know, I hope
And
guys
I know
like,
that's listen, that's coming from you. That's your guy. I mean, that's not like that's not ragging on a guy. That's just being
But you know, it's kind of one of those things where when it's like, you know, like I hope Lane Thomas plays well. Hope Manzardo plays well.
Yeah.
Thing I'm interested in to see is like, you know, we saw the Guardians did it with, you know, Hunter Gaddis with him coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Now McKenzie's coming out of the bullpen, and with that torn UCL, you know, he doesn't have to worry about managing. Oh, you know, I need to go out there and give 5 innings.
Have you seen? Speaking of the torn UCL, I don't mean to cut you off, but have you seen a legitimate reason as to why he hasn't gotten that fixed yet?
I have not. No.
Okay, I'm baffled by it.
I think.
I mean, I get it. The velocity is still there, but it doesn't seem like
I think it was
the
kind of one of those things.
there.
Well, the same thing happened with Bieber.
Yeah.
Bieber the year before hurt his elbow, didn't get surgery and just rehabbed it in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tore his, and then he tore it again and had to get Tommy John. So that could happen with McKenzie this year.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe him coming out of the bullpen, you know, only throwing 1 inning.
Yeah.
Where he's able to go out there and just unleash it for 1 inning, 1 or 2.
But then you have the tendency to throw harder. And I think that's worse on your elbow. I don't know.
It's kind of like Gaddis though. Like until you know McKenzie's okay. Obviously, I mean, obviously you don't know he's okay because you know everybody thought Bieber was okay, and then you know
the velocity was up in the spring, but like we said, when you get back here in March and April, it's gonna be cold. I mean, not gonna be much warmer in Kansas City.
It's also one of those things too, where it's like if he's not pitching well, either cut him or you say, hey, you know, we're sending you down to the minors. You know, good luck.
Well, he has no options.
So then, I mean, you either cut him or you just got to roll with him.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things that you could do with Pedro Avila. Like, come playoff time, you could just be like, hey, you know, we're gonna, you know, DFA you or cut you because you know it's not going well.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you that. Well, I mean, you kind of said it, but like, what's your thoughts on the Guardians rolling with 2 starters in?
I don't mind. I mean, here we have a comment. Andrew says, I don't think Santana played. He hit 23 home runs last year.
He did, Drew. He did.
It's a valid point.
He also won a gold. He also did win a Gold Glove too. So I mean,
listen, he's not going to chase, right? Nope. Like Josh Naylor did.
Yep. But
I mean,
I wanted to ask, what's your thoughts on the Guardians running with 2 starters out of their bullpen?
I mean,
in McKenzie and Joey Cantillo.
Listen, I mean,
like
an embarrassment of riches in the pitching department is
with
never a bad thing.
With you being a former pitcher, like as a starter, would you hate coming out of the bullpen?
No,
knowing you're only
I liked it. It was like a fresh perspective for me sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I liked it. And a lot of it depends on the situation. I mean, bases loaded, nobody out kind of stinks. Like, you got no wiggle room, but whatever. I mean, I feel like as an athlete, you have a little bit of an ego, right? Like, I can get out of this. It's no problem.
Yeah.
No, I liked it. I thought it was a fresh perspective. I just like to know what my role is going to be.
I agree.
I think that's important for pitchers. I think you got to know when to start getting ready on average every night, right? And that's why I think starting was easier for me because I knew exactly my whole thing was regimented. I knew how to stretch and how to warm up and how to throw and how to the timing that I had, right? As a reliever, you never know. I mean, especially if you're like that spot starter, the long guy. I mean, you could get caught up in the 2nd inning, the 1st inning, the 5th inning. You never know. So those guys are a little bit more mentally unstable, I think.
And
but
I mean,
I'd like to know what I was doing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like Drew said, like, or kind of, like my brother. If you guys don't know Andrew, that's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of like he said, I mean, kind of like he said, Santana had 23 homers last year, and it's like, you know, he's not, he's past his prime, of hitting you 30 homers every year with 100 RBIs and batting
maybe
210. But now he's going to give you 20 to 25.
Plate selection never goes away. I mean, he's
going to give you 20, 25 homers. He's going to get on base.
Yep.
He's gonna keep at bats going, and he's gonna help protect Jose if Jose hits in the 2-hole.
Agreed.
Whether Jose hits in the 2-hole or the 3-hole, he's still gonna be protected because you're gonna have Santana in front of him or behind him.
Yeah, agreed. Well, listen, and that's, I mean, again, Guardians opener. I almost said home opener, not the home opener. Opener is at Kansas City tomorrow at 4:10. Yeah. The Braves will go. NL Cy Young winner Chris Sale against Michael King, and this is an interesting matchup for me because I don't know if you know this. Game 1 last year, the wild card series, Michael King absolutely dominated the Braves.
He did.
And Andrew said he gets on base. That's all the Guardians need. That's it.
That's all they need. You just need him to get on base, and you got guys around him that can hit him in.
So without looking at the, I think Michael King struck out 15 guys. Or it felt like 500 in that wild card series game last year. So I do want to see the Braves come out this year. Yeah, it's the offense isn't going to look like what the offense is going to look like until Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back. I know that. It's interesting with Jurickson Profar out there. He just had a career year. He had a kind of a breakout year last year with San Diego. Now he's in Atlanta. I just want to see the Braves get some good at bats opening day, right? You don't have to win opening day to go have success. It's not like that. It's not like the NFL or college football, right? You don't feel behind the 8 ball if you lose the first game of the year. It stinks as a fan because you want to see your team win, but it doesn't mean anything in this. It's meaningless, right? I say that, and then you lose the game or you lose the division by 1 game, and then it's not meaningless. But whatever. I just want to see them have some good at bats. I want to see the offense look a little more like they did in 2023, when they were much, much better, and they just appeared to have more of a clue at the plate. And I think a lot of that was injuries last year. You just never knew what lineup was going to be out there. And again, Sean Murphy starting off on the IL with a broken rib isn't a great omen for the Braves. But it's kind of a freak injury. It's not an oblique. It's not a hamstring. It's not something that's going to recur. I mean, once the rib's healed, it's healed. That's it.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. Acuna's going to, need some time to work through his rehab on his knee. That's fine. Don't rush him back. We saw what happened when he got rushed back last year. He tore the other ACL. And Spencer Strider again coming. The same thing is Shane Bieber coming off of Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, you don't want to
back. Let him stretch it out. Have the time he needs to come back. And just stay afloat, right? Which is going to be tougher to do in the NL East.
It is, but it's kind of one of those things. It's like before I say what I was going to say, what was your thoughts on the Braves signing Verdugo?
I think it's low risk, high reward. I mean, I
agree.
If he comes out and flashes any of the old, whatever, the old talent, the old form that he had, that's great for the Braves.
It is.
If not, they spent what, $1.5 million? I mean, it's whatever. He's on a minor league deal. If it pans out, great. If not, that's okay.
And what I was going to say is, it's kind of like you said, there's same thing goes with the Guardians too. There's no need to rush these.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to rush these guys back because it's early. You're in.
The AL Central is a very winnable division.
Yeah. You're in April. Yeah. Like I said, it's not like you're getting towards July, August, September, those months where you're making a playoff push. And we saw it with the Braves. The year they won the World Series. I mean, they were under 500 at the All-Star break.
They were awful. They should have been a seller. Yeah.
And then after the All-Star break, they acquire some bats, and they make a huge run. So
a whole new outfield.
Even if Spencer Strider isn't ready by June, even if he comes back right before the All-Star break, and say he pitches 1 game, then he's got that whole All-Star break to rest again.
Yeah.
And then he's fresh for the second half of the season.
Yep. And
a fresh Spencer Strider could push the Braves where they need it. And same with the Guardians with Bieber.
Yeah.
Like if Bieber only makes 2 starts before the All-Star break, I'm okay with that because then he's got the whole All-Star break to recover.
As long as they're in striking distance.
Exactly. As long as you're within reach of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you're not too far. Now, if you're too far behind, might as well just pitch him.
Yeah.
Or hold him out.
And at that point, does it become a showcase to try to move him somewhere? I mean, I say that, but
yeah, no, but no, I agree. If he comes back early, say beginning of June, right? Yeah. And Guardians are way under 500 and aren't looking good by the All-Star break, like you said, that kind of thing where it's hey, go out there and pitch, and if you're pitching well, we'll trade you we'll trade you after the All-Star break.
Yeah. Hey.
Which I don't want them to, but like you said, it's early in the season. There's no need to rush these guys back. Let them recover. They're 2 elite. They're going to be good no matter what. They're both elite pitchers. They're both
right.
And it's just a matter of whether or not they're fully healthy when they come back.
I agree. Well, listen, Ben, we're going to try to be fully healthy when we come back. There's no need to rush us back.
Sure.
Because we're elite, or something. Or maybe you want to delete us. But anyway, we will be back next week. We're going to talk about the first week of baseball. We'll obviously have we'll have a clear picture of, where we're at with the Final Four.
Sure.
Moving forward. So we'll talk about that next week on the show. I do want to get into, we keep trying to get into the NFL draft, but it keeps getting pushed off because March Madness, opening day, all this stuff keeps happening. We're going to try to talk about the draft a little bit next week. Maybe we won't get to that for another couple of weeks. We'll see. Still trying to line up some guests for you guys. But again, thank you so much for watching today. Hopefully you don't still have snow on the ground by you like I do right now. It's really annoying. Somehow, an hour flies by every Wednesday. We got to start doing 2 shows a week, man.
I'd be down to do 2 shows a week and just shorten maybe like 30-minute shows or something. I'd be down.
We got to try to find the time. Well, then we had the same amount of show. Anyway, like I said, next week, we'll talk about the first week of baseball. We'll get into the Final Four stuff. It's going to be playoff time in the NBA. We got to talk about the Cavs. The Cavs finally won a game. They finally figured out how to win a basketball game. They're good now.
Playoffs.
They're bad in playoffs. Yeah, everybody was down on them when they lost 4 in a row. But did you know they were the first team to ever lose 4 in a row immediately after winning at least 15 in a row?
I did know that.
So that's something else that they accomplished, I guess.
And cool. one thing before we people saying, oh, Cavs lost 4 in a row, they're not they're not good enough to win it all. If you think about it, right, they're on a West Coast trip after winning 16 in a row, traveling all the way across the country.
They looked tired that entire winning streak.
Towards the end of that winning streak, like you could tell they weren't playing great basketball, and you have to travel all.
I don't think they ever once played great basketball during the streak. I mean, they were okay. Obviously, they were winning, but
and you could tell that West Coast trip took a toll on them. They took a beating. Like and when your 2-star players aren't playing well, and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, it's hard for your role players to consistently pick them up every single night. I mean, and I know the Cavs role players have all season, but it's hard to do it 4 straight games on the road, on the West Coast, and
jet lag.
Usually it's not both of them playing bad. Usually it's only one of them playing bad, so you only got to pick up one of them. But when they're both playing bad, that's, I mean, that for playing sports, even in baseball, it's extremely, extremely hard to.
Listen, sometimes you come out for an entire week and you just don't have it.
Yeah.
And it's puzzling and it's bizarre, and it doesn't show up as much in sports like football because there's 1 game a week. And in baseball, there's a million games. But in basketball, I think it tends to show more because there's like, you're in between those 2 sweet spots, right? So you kind of have like a large losing streak, a long losing streak looks way more important than maybe it really is. Listen, they're going to be the 1 or the 2 seed. We know that. They're probably going to be the 1 seed.
They've at least clinched the 2 seed, so the lowest they can fall is 2.
Right.
So, and if the Cavs get the 1 seed, I'm fully confident they can make it to the finals. Because I mean,
pump the brakes on the panic. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, you get this team at home in the playoffs. I'm not worried.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, hey, listen, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week. We will have, I don't know, something will probably happen between now and then to change it, but we'll try to talk about baseball, Final Four, and maybe a touch of the NFL draft. Again, for Ben Bales, I am your host, Chad Bryan. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week.